Welcome back to Trash Panda Off-Road. Today we've got to do a transmission swap on the green X-90. So about a month ago, driving down the road, that green rig was just making all kinds of noise in the transmission. So I came home and I pulled the drain plug because I was going to flush the fluid in it and see if that helped. And on the drain plug was like 24 needle bearings. So if I can find that picture, I'll put it in here after this little spiel. But then so I stopped driving it, and I have this 1990 transmission and transfer case set up. That rig is a 96, but I spoke with Randy Gibbs, and he's telling me that if I use the bell housing from the 96, I can use the actual transmission from this one. He thinks fifth gear is a little different, but I'm gonna put another lift under that and go with another bigger tire size again, hopefully, so I'm not really concerned about it. And then this transfer case I don't think I can use because that being a 96, I believe they switched the tail spline count, so I think this is a 22 and they went to a 26, I believe. I could be mistaken on all of this, but we'll pull that rear driveline out and stick it in here before we start tearing things apart. Got the driveline out, and just by looking at them, you can tell they're not going to work together. You look at that spline, and then look at those splines there. So, let's see if we can give it a shot here. But I doubt it's going to work. Yeah, they don't fit. Okay, so I have to split this transmission and transfer case setup. I'm gonna pull that bell housing off, and I got to pull that transfer case off. And then I still have to drop that transmission out of here. I think what I'm gonna do first, while it's not raining, I'm gonna split that while it's not raining, and then I'll come in here and do all the interior stuff, and we'll get on to dropping this transmission out. Okay, I changed my mind again. I want to put both transmissions side by side before I start tearing into them. Interior wise here, it's pretty simple. There's some screws here, down here by the seat, down there, and then down back here, and then you can remove almost all this. Then once you get this removed, there's going to be a plate under here with some bolts that you can remove to get rid of all the covers. Same thing around the transfer case. There's going to be a little square plate all the way around. Probably seen that in some of my other videos. This is not that anything new. I've done this kind of stuff 100 times. So we'll take this stuff apart, put all our pieces securely over there, and try not to lose any of the screws. Got those two covers and all that stuff removed. Doesn't take long, like 10 minutes. So now I'm gonna move up here to the engine bay, and right down there, let's see if I can get it in there so you can see it, but there are 4 nuts. Right, there's one on the other side, and then there's one directly below it. Got to undo those 4 bolts to be able to slide the transmission off the transfer case. Everything's still going to be hooked up and held on by the cross member under there, so that's not a big deal. All we're looking to do is just undo those bolts. So I find it easier to get to all these bolts and stuff from underneath. Like there's the one there. But while you're under here, also bear in mind there's other things that need to be detached. Like this support brace right here. It's got a couple of bolts on the inside right there, and that goes up to some more mounts like for the exhaust and stuff, so that'll need to come off. And then on the other side, you've got this mount here that has to come off. That's for your clutch cable, and then also, of course, starter's gonna have to come out of there too. So it's not just the 4 bolts that hold the transmission on. You also got to undo a couple other things. And I believe there's also a connector up there you got to undo, but I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember. I'll get there when I get there, and I'll let you guys know about it. Got everything out of there. There is one connection that has to be dismantled, and it's down there above the starter. I got it pushed back. Let me pull it forward here a little bit so you can see it. Right there, maybe? Yeah, so right there, let's see. It is that connection right there has to be undone above the starter. I'll show you on the other one that's already out. So it's this connection right here. Goes up, connects at the starter. This connection right here you can leave because it's wired into it. And then all the vent lines you can leave. Now that everything's unhooked all the way around, I'm going to pull the front drive line. We'll get a drip pan under here, because as soon as you pull it out of there, it's going to leak all the fluid out of the transfer case. You're going to lose all that gear oil. So got to put a pan here. I have some of these cloths to help after whatever misses the pan, and we're going to let that drip for a few minutes. So for me, how I do this is I unhook all the bolts in the cross member that hold the transmission to it. I put a little bit of weight on the jack on the transmission. Swear to God, this transmission jack weighs more than the transmission. But anyways, get it up there, put some weight on it. I pull these last two bolts on each side right there, the cross member. I pull that cross member out, and then I wrestle with the transmission to slide it back the 4 inches or so it needs to slide back, and drop it onto the ground and hope I don't smash my hand. As I'm starting to lower things, I noticed one, forgot the speedometer cable, which just takes a quick wrench, a pair of pliers to unbolt or unscrew that, and then I went ahead and removed the stick for the 5-speed. That's like a real small collar. You just pull up the rubber boot, push down on the collar, turn it, it pops right out. Unfortunately, I don't have the jack stands up high enough, so, which I never do, but now I'm going to dump this thing onto the ground and drag it out of here. It was really simple, actually. I just lowered the transmission jack, and as I did, I shoved it backwards and it popped off, and then I pulled it forward again so it could lower. So now it's out. I'll throw it off the jack onto the ground and drag it outside, compare it to the other one. Covered this in other videos about taking these apart, but just a reminder, the transfer case comes off where these tabs are. See this little wing? Okay, that's where it splits, and it goes all the way around. There's a couple on the bottom, but also you got to take this tower and unbolt it, pop it up, because there is one bolt in there. Let's see if I can even get in there for you to see it. But anyways, inside there, if there was any light, you can see a hole. There's a bolt in there. I already took that bolt out also. So you got to pull that bolt, and then you can put the tower back on, but not this last one. You put that last one in, it won't come apart because it'll be stuck together. So take all the bolts out all the way around. Remember the two at the bottom here, and the one hidden by the shifter mount tower. It's been about 2, maybe 3 weeks since we left off on this project. You guys know life gets in the way, right? So we got to take the bell housing, the 96 bell housing, 96 transfer case, and we're going to put it on the 90 transmission. Put all this stuff together, stick it all back so it's one big giant piece, and hopefully we'll get it put back into the X-90 today. There it is, all back together, easy peasy. Now I got to slide it back under here and get it back up onto the jack to get it lifted up. Transmission's all in, bolted up. While I was under here, noticed something unfortunate. Look at that. I'm gonna have to do a wheel bearing, or wheel bearing, dummy. Gonna have to do a brake cylinder. So we'll do that maybe tomorrow. And then I know I got to get new tires. Look at those bad boys. I think we're going to bump up to a 235. I have some 4-door springs I want to put in here and see if I can get just a little more lift out of it. But transmission's all in. Now I got to hook everything back up. What I did use to do it was, I have to show you from the top, but this is a reusable zip tie. So check these out. I don't remember where I picked these up at, but it's basically, like I said, it's a reusable zip tie. So latch goes in, pop this up, holds it tight enough to hold the back half of the transmission up. Now we will do, I think we'll stay back under the truck. We will do rear drive line and then all the stuff that we got to connect underneath here, and we'll do the stupid starter last because that's the big pain in the butt part. Everything's back in except front drive line. So I got that out of the way still because I have to fill up the transmission still. When I had it off and out, I made sure this opened. So is that, and that opened, and use the 10mm lug piece that is designed for it, not a 3/8 ratchet. You can see this one, somebody used a ratchet on it. Look at it. Yeah, right there. See, it's all hogged out. That's because they used the wrong tool on it. This goes in there just like that, nice and tight. So some guys fill them from the top through the shifter. I don't like to do that because I like to know how much is in there. So I always fill through the fill hole. Got to do this. With the transmission, you have to use a GL4. It doesn't have to be Redline. Redline is hella expensive. There are way cheaper brands out there. But it has to be GL4 yellow metal safe. That's a problem sometimes with these transmissions, is people didn't use that and it starts to wear out inside. And then I'll use the fill the transfer case through the same kind of method. These holes are right here. Here's the bottom hole. There's the top hole. Just a friendly reminder, you got to put the front drive line back in before you start putting gear oil in the transfer case, because it will just turn around and drip right back out. Put the front drive line back in first. Everything's back together. Let's see what happens here. I put all that back together. My son called me, and so while I was talking on the phone to him, clutch feels pretty good. While I was talking on the phone to him, I put all that back together. So let's see what happens. Okay, so let's see here. Clutch feels a little loose, but it is shifting through them, so. Okay, team, it worked well. Drove it down to O'Reilly's in order to order the brake cylinder to replace on that wheel tomorrow, maybe. So now all I have to do is clean up the shop and put the, well, get rid of that mess I made, because I told you I would make a mess putting oil in. Anyways, we'll take care of that, and that's all for this one. So thanks for watching, guys. Trash Panda Off-Road on the Instagram. Subscribe to the channel, and tomorrow we'll start working on something else to get this car going better.